Let's start. So Urvashi, if you can put the slides on, so we can start with Engineer Australia first. Okay, so we have 4 days seminar. The first one was for the TRA. Now today is for ACS in Engineer Australia, and you guys are here. So we'll discuss about the PR pathway towards the Engineer Australia and ACS first, and then we'll take it the question answer session with you. Okay. So Urvashi, if you can go directly to the Engineer Australia slide, so we can start that. Okay. So Engineer Australia basically a skill assessment body for Engineer Australia engineers. So any engineer apart from those who are computer system network engineer or or network engineer, they falls under the ACS pathway, not to the Engineer Australia. Apart from all the engineers who needs to get the skill assessment done from Engineer Australia. Okay, so there are a couple of pathways. First is obviously a directly accredited pathway where you need to apply if you have studied in an accredited course in Australia. Another one is the Washington Accord and Sydney Accord. So lots of now from India and Pakistan, lots of engineering universities are under the Washington and Sydney Accord. So you can directly get your skill assessment done based on that accords as well. Apart from that, there's a Dublin Accord. Apart for last but not the least, if you can go with the competency development report, that's the CDR process normally we do for lots of engineers. So if you have got your skill assessment done through ThinkEye, we might have done your CDRs, writing episodes, and then submitted to the Engineer Australia in order to get the skill assessment outcome. Now we'll do the basic documentation process for few of these criteria. So Urvashi, if you can do the next slide. Yes, so the CDR checklist normally require a color scan passport, so you don't need a certification or any certified or tested document for Engineers Australia. Then obviously you require your CV needs to be up to date 100%. So from year 12 till whatever you have done, you need to update that one accordingly. High resolution passport size photograph that needs to be scanned as well. So you can take a photograph from your phone on a white background as well. So it not needs to be specifically done from Post or any specific Photoshop. English requirement is 6 each. If you have studied in Australia, then you don't require English. So minimum requirement of study is 2 years. So either you do a bachelor's program, master's, that will meet your requirements. And obviously the English needs to be not more than 3 years old. So that's the basic requirements they needed. Checklist is more normal MSA agent application form, academic documents, you all have it. And then if you need to do an employment assessment, which is not mandatory for Engineers Australia. For ACS is a different story. So we require minimum 1 year of experience or a professional year if you're studying in Australia. But for engineers, you don't require any skill assessment based on your experience. That you can claim directly to EO as well. So you don't need to just go to the Engineer Australia to assess that one. But obviously you require these documents for the immigration purposes as well, which are on the list. Yeah, next please. Now, process is quite easier. You need to write 3 career episodes based on your projects. Or if you have work experience, then you can take out the projects from your work experience as well. So it all depends on which career episodes you are doing it. We normally ask our clients to do 1 or 2 from your project reports, and the third one you can do it from your work experience as well. But if your project reports are very old and you don't have the records of the project reports, then you can use all the work experience episodes as well. CPD you need to do is pretty much similar to your resume, where you write all the continuous progress development report out there, that what you're currently doing based on for the engineering skills. Like reading books, any literature reading for engineer will do as well for the CPD. Summary statement is a basic statement format. They have it. You just need to fill that up. So it's quite easier. So once you write the CDRs, whatever the reference you have it in these 3 CDRs, you have to put in the summary statement. We'll show you the samples now. If you can go next. So before that, the samples, the career episode needs to be based on these 4 to 5 pointers. Institution name needs to be there, your project name, project timelines from this date to which date. Now, if you're using a project from your academics, then you need to ensure that, say if you have done the neural networks. I'm giving an example. So neural networks, normally people study engineering in the last semester or second last semester. So your timeline needs to match with this one. You can't say that in the first year I've done the neural networks, they will reject your application. They knew that you never study neural networks in the first year. So that you need to be, very sure when putting it into the timelines. Semester number needs to be there, supervisor name, and then organization chart. So organization chart is mandatory where you have couple of team members. So for instance, project normally in Pakistan, India, or in South Asia, you do it with the group. Don't do the project itself. So you need to have a group names in there. Next, please. So activities you need to write, and then probably whatever the figures or table or schematics you have it, you need to put that one. Do not copy paste from the Google because they do the forensic check as well. So sometimes a few of my clients who applied themselves, what they did, they put a schematic which is for 2022. The project was recently been launched by XYZ, university, and they passed out in 2012. So 10 years, the technology came after 10 years, and they put the same pictures, which was of 2022 into 2012 projects, and they got banned for 1 year. So that we don't want. So you need to be very specific in terms of putting the figures and the pictures and all those stuff as well. As I said that possible 1 year ban can be done. So you need to be, and 1 year is too much. You cannot then apply for any skill assessment for engineers Australia. Then you need to try some other bodies, but for engineers you don't have any other body, unlike accountants. Yeah. Next, please. Now this is the sample. So CPD needs to be like this one. You need to put all your, since you have started your university or even back in year 12, you have done a pre-engineering, then you have to put all things together in a chronological, ascending or descending order, depends on how you wanted to do it. So there's no specific that you have to put the latest one first. You can do the oldest one first and then go with the ascending order as well. Let's do the next one, please. This is a summary statement sample. So sample is available on Engineer Australia website. You just need to write. So they will give you the first column, the sample. The rest you need to write accordingly, and then put the reference number, the paragraphs you write on the episodes. So this is how it works. Next, please. So we'll do the quick quiz. How many career episodes do you need to write Engineer Australia skill assessment through CDI? Any? That's right. So our both audience are giving the right answer. It's 3. So good job, guys. Let's go to the next slide. So we have customer reviews. So probably we'll do that one when we are putting up the recording. Okay. So right now let's do the ACS skill assessment quicker, and then we'll discuss about if you have any particular questions regarding this one. Let's do this slide one. So Urvashi, so who are they? Australian Computer Society is called the ACS. Pretty much quite common terminology. Then you have dedicated skill assessment body for IT professionals. So this is the only body which does the IT. There's no other body. So you can't, if you just get refused from ACS, then you have to knock the door again. You cannot go to some other body to give you the assessment. Streams are partial assessment only for TR 485 now, since they have scrapped the TR 485 assessment, so you don't need any assessments anymore for TR. Post Australian study, if you have done a professional year along with the qualification, then you can go with the post Australian study assessment. Then a full skill assessment is based on qualification and work experience. So for Australia, you require 1 year post study experience. For offshore is minimum 2 years, but depends on which the qualification you have done it. If you have done a minor, then there is a 4 years of requirement. If you have done a majors, then you can do the 2 years one. Then there's an RPL as well. Those who never had studied IT, but they are working in an IT field for last say 8 or 9 years, they can do an RPL as well. That also gives them the skill assessment. So these are the 4 streams for ACS. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now for ACS summary, this is the summary, so I'll quickly run through it so it will give you a better idea. So if you have an Australian bachelor's degree, you and your ICT content is majors, like you have done a master's of computer science, a master of IT, or similar in bachelor's, or bachelor business information system. These all are in the major ICT occupation. So you require at least a 1 year of work experience in Australia, or you do a professional year program. But if you do both together, then you're able to claim 10 points. So it's not either way. So you get the 1 year experience points as well, along with the ACS professional year 5 points as well. So that altogether 10 points, which is a plus point nowadays. Points are quite important these days. Now, if you are overseas, then as I said you, if you have major, then you have to do 2 years relevant ICT experience. Now, lots of people don't know about this thing. If you don't have a post-study 2 years experience, you can also claim, or you can also apply for a bachelor's skill assessment from offshore degree based on a 4 year experience in the last 10 years. So say if during the Bachelor of IT you have done IT job, say a full-time job, you can still claim those ones, but it has to be 4 years full-time. Okay, and altogether last 10 years. So that also gives you a bachelor's degree assessment. People only believe that it's a post-study, but it's not like that. So you need to also, it's a very good, tip for those who are struggling to get the skill assessment done, or they are still waiting for another 2 years to happen and then they will do it. So that's not the case. Again, if you're not closely relevant to your nominated occupation, for instance, you have done a bachelor's of IT in software engineer, but you're working as a business analyst, not as a software, then you need a 4 years relevant ICT work experience in past work history, means more than even 10 years you can go further. Okay, so in a sense that I have done a bachelor's of IT, as I said, in the software, but I need to get my skill assessment done as a network specialist or an ICT security specialist. So I should have a 4 years experience as ICT security specialist in order to get the assessment. So you don't need to study security specialist in order to get an assessment. Yeah.
Sorry, I want to ask about the first point.
Yes.
If someone has a master's degree in IT and has a 1 year work experience, so on base of that he can do skill assessment.
Yes.
And also we can claim those points in
Yes.
in our peer pathway.
Absolutely.
Because I heard you can claim only at one.
No, so there are two different pathways. One is for offshore, the other one is for the onshore.
Okay.
So if you are onshore, you have done a Master of IT, and then you have done a 1 year of post-study experience after your study, then you can add that 1 year experience to get your skill assessment done, and also you can claim 5 points. But for offshore, if you have done a bachelor's of IT with the 2 years of experience, that all merge together and you get a skill assessment, but you won't be able to claim that 2 years experience because they merge those experience into your qualification in order to get a positive skill assessment. So offshore has a different scenario, whereas onshore has a different scenario. Okay. So in this case, lots of people do PUI as well. So they get 10 points instead of only claiming 5 points. Because obviously there is a myth that if you claim your 1 year experience to your skill assessment, then you won't be able to claim that 5 points. But that's not the case for onshore. Yes, so let's go to the next slide. So there are other pathways. So if you have a minor, then obviously you need a 5 years of relevant experience because lots of people do dual degrees like Bachelor of Business with minor in information systems or management system. They do have some IT content out there. They can also get their degree assessed if they have 5 years of ICT work experience in last 10 years or 6 years in the whole past history. So, lots of people, Bachelor of Commerce can also get the IT skill assessment done. But, people don't know about this stuff. Yeah. Then obviously bachelor's degree minor, not closely related. If you're not working in your nominated occupation, then again you can get your degree assessed if you have worked in the 6 years in past history. So more than 10 years, whatever you have claimed, you can still go with the skill assessment. But the issue with these ones are they'll merge all together. The 6 years will merge into your qualification and you won't be able to claim any points. So assessment is good, but for the permanent residency pathway, it's going to be tougher because you won't be able to claim any experience. Let's go to the next slide. Now these are for the diploma holders. So if you're major, then 5 years of work experience in the last 10 years and 6 years in past work history. So pretty much the same thing. And then again, if you're not working in your nominated occupation, then it needs to be 6 years relevant experience required. Let's go to the next slide. Pretty much the same for bachelor's and advanced diplomas. Now, those who have never ever have studied, they can go with an 8 years of ICT work experience, and that all 8 years will merge together to become a degree assessment. So you won't be able to claim, but you can still apply for permanent residency, getting more English points and NATI and all those stuff. Still, there are lots of pathways. Let's go to the next slide. Now, for the checklist, they have changed, the ACS has changed their structure now. So they require 3 forms of ID first. First need to be obviously a passport, then any additional documents required, say birth certificate or visa grant letter, driving license or national ID. And the third, if you have any evidence of name change, like marriage certificate or something, so you need to put that one in. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So if you're offshore, then obviously you don't have the visa grant. You can submit the other forms of ID like driving license, or maybe there are lots of national ID cards. So these ones you can submit an Aadhaar card if you're from India. Okay. Now completed resume is mandatory now. Apart from that, you also require educational documents. Now for Pakistani audience, you require to get your bachelor's or master, whatever you have done back in Pakistan, need to be HCC attested. Apart from that, they won't assess your degree. If you have done in Australia, then you don't need any attestation. But if it's
for onshore, we don't need.
Onshore, you don't need it. For offshore, if it's from Pakistan, then HCC attested needs to be done. What I normally do, we don't then put bachelor's if you have already done a master's of IT. So to save time, bachelor's you can then claim directly with the immigration. You don't need to then get your bachelor's degree assessed. But for engineering, like for skill assessment, you must need to also have a bachelor's, but there is no attestation required for that one. So 2 bodies have 2 different requirements. Then all transcript needs to be all pages. Like if you have 8 semester transcripts, so 8 semester transcript needs to be there, and then you need a consolidated transcript as well. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Sorry. So either you have a professional year documents or experience. It depends on you how you want to go with the skill assessment, or you can put both together as well if you wanted to get. But if you have PY, then ideally go with the employment experience directly claimed to EY. Don't need to just go to the ACS to get that assessed, but it may take some time. PY is quite easier. So if you're done PI, just add that and get your degree assessed. Okay, next. So the payment evidence, so if you're going with an experience, then they are really tough these days. You must need to have at least payment evidence, at least 2 of them. Pay slips must contain your name and employer name. And if it's onshore, there needs to be ABN and TFN there. Bank statement showing your salary credits. Apart from that, you need a tax documents. Along with that, there needs to be, if there's a superannuation or anything linked to that, then you need to submit superannuation as well. Generally for onshore, you must have all these 4 because generally they give all employers must need to provide these. But if you're offshore, then at least 2 will do for you. Let's go to the next slide. So few recommendations. Documents should be merged for each section. Don't put individual, if you have 8 transcripts, don't put individual transcript, merge that and then submit it. Because generally ACS portal allows you to upload specific documents, not in bulk. Then all document needs to be properly colored scan. Generally 300 DPIs we ask them to scan. But if it's more than that, that's fine. But there is a limit file size that needs to be 5 MB, not more than that. Remove tags like scan by cam scanner, because lots of people do a cam scanner, so just remove the tag which comes at the bottom. Take screenshot of each page of the application. So if you're doing an application, try to take a screenshot of all the pages, because once you submit, they won't send you any summary. And then you cannot go into the application and check what you have submitted. So you need to take at least snapshot or make a PDF of every page when you're submitting, and then submit the application. And be patient with uploading documents, because sometimes they do take some time. So rather than attach everything, because once you attach multiple times, it will come multiple the documents, and you can't remove that one. ACS don't allow you to remove. So that's the issue. So make sure if you're uploading, needs to be patiently waiting for the upload. Let's go to the next slide. If you don't exceed to the 3 MB, generally it's 5 MB, but say try not exceed 3 MB. Do not submit encrypted documents, must be decrypted. Do not upload certified documents apart from the HCC certification. Don't submit black and white documents. Generally, ACS nowadays they don't request, so they can refuse the application straight away if they won't get, as per the guidelines. So they're pretty strict these days about it. These, especially the documentation part. Let's go to the next slide. Now, obviously, what do you next? Once you submit these documents, you need to pay. So they have the charges $500 for the skill assessment. You need to pay that one in order to get your degree assessed. Let's go next. All right, so that's pretty much for the ACS. Now, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll try to wrap this one and then we'll do the one-to-one session if needed be. Yep. Any questions, Sukhan? Do you have it?
This session was mostly regarding the PR, like skill
Yes.
assessment and
Yes. Yes.
like how we can go for the skill assessment.
You need a PR pathways as well. Yes. So if you have any questions regarding PR pathways, I can answer you right now as well.
Okay. Because as I have done bachelor's of engineering from India and it is in 2012 already completed that one. Now I am in like masters of engineering here.
Yeah.
So I just want to know which one is better. Like now if I am doing the assessment or after 2 years, because the thing is like now I am 32 years.
Mhm.
I'll get the 5 point extra.
Mhm.
But when I will complete the degree, then that 5 points I will lose, and I will get the 5 points of
Mhm.
the study which I will do
Absolutely.
here.
So either way, you're
Yes.
losing 5 points in any case.
Yes.
So see, better opportunity is to get latch on the permanent residency pathway as soon as possible because you already have your skill assessment done. So even though if you do the Master of Engineering, still you'll get the 5 point additional for 2 years study, not more than that.
Yes.
So better if you have any state sponsorship available right now, because lots of state will open up in next 15 to 20 days because they have stopped, but for this year obviously they have to open. So as soon as you see that your occupation is that state, I would personally suggest to move as early as possible. Or if you're in Victoria, then engineers are pretty good in the shape, but you need to have a casual or part-time job for Victoria. So
Okay.
say if you find even a relevant job or slightly relevant, say a technician
Yes.
in your field, that will do as well. So it has to be, at least you need to find a job. No matter it's part-time or full-time, doesn't matter. So if you do that one, then it's going to be easier for you to apply within Victoria.
Okay.
Because we have seen lots of people for the first quarter, especially for the first quarter, they invite on a very low points, like 75, 70, even 80. So 70 to 80 points is the minimum threshold of first quarter. As soon as you go to the second quarter, they start increasing the points. Then they'll invite on 85, 90, 95, which is hard to crack. So it's better that you concentrate right now to find any work as early as possible.
Okay.
So that way you don't need to wait for the whole VU degree to be finished. You can do it before Master of Engineering. And say if nothing works out, then you already have 5 points which you have lost. You'll gain it with the study. You can do your pathway again as well. But I would suggest personally, don't wait for the studies to be complete.
And if I do the skill assessment right now and after completing my masters of engineering, do I can do the skill assessment later on also. Like already
You-
I have one skill assessment.
You don't
based-
need again.
Okay.
You don't need again. So if you already have it from India,
Okay.
generally for Indian Australia it's a 3 years validity. Okay,
Okay.
so if that has expired, you can still again apply with the same documents. You don't need to submit new documents for Indian Australia.
Okay.
For Master Engineering, you don't need the skill assessment.
Okay.
You just need to submit the EOI and claim points for the study there. That's it.
Okay.
So it will save your money rather than you do the whole process again, spend good money, amount of money, no point of doing that. Make
That's
sense?
it, yes.
Yes. But we'll do one-to-one session and then we'll discuss on this one. Thank you so much. We have a couple of questions from our viewers who are going online. Maybe that will help you out in few of your questions. So as Arslan Shabir is asking, if someone has skill assessment as a software engineer, after skill assessment, they have worked 1 year as a software engineer and gained 5 points of work experience. Do they need to get a skill assessment again for 5 points? or assess their work experience. So what Arslan is asking, do we need to redo the assessment or not? So you don't need to, Arslan. For this one, you directly need to go to an UI and update your experience out there into the UI. That will able to claim you the 5 points. But yes, once they invite you, you need to ensure that you have the relevant documents. For instance, pay slips, bank statement, whatever we have said. So that needs to be submitted to the Department of Home Affairs at the time of application. But you can still claim points. You don't need to go to ACS again. Do we have any other question? All right. Thank you so much, guys. So we'll wrap up this session and I'll call you one by one and then we'll discuss about that one. All right. Have a good day. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Ibrat. I received an unfortunate ban of 1 year by Engineers Australia. When I contacted Think Higher Consultants for a professional advice, they are one of the best consultants in Australia. They were always available to talk, kept me updated on the process. I will highly recommend them.